everybody ready?
What happened? Is there any This is like time change. Yeah. I spoke to the legal clock change. You should have seen that for you. I couldn't figure out that it was an hour off.
I know.
I need a bigger room. In the spring.
All right. Jeanine, is this on? Test. Should be on. All right. Okay.
Good. How's that look? They look good. Coming over there. Clegg over here.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Neil W. McCabe. I'm the Director of External Affairs for the U.S. Attorney's Office. Today you will hear from D.C.'s U.S. Attorney, Edward R. Martin, Jr. Mr. Martin resigned his post effective upon Judge Jeanine Pirro's swearing in Wednesday. Tomorrow, Mr. Martin begins his new assignment as the Director of the Weaponization Working Group and the DOJ Pardon Attorney. With us today is Jonathan R. Hornick, H-O-R-N-O-K. He is the Chief of the Criminal Division. Mr. Hornick will answer specific questions about events Mr. Martin will talk about in his opening remarks. Before we begin, there are some ground rules. Each reporter will get one question and one follow-up. And for the benefit of the staff, please state your name and your outlet. And we have a hard out today at 3 p.m. If there are questions that we do not have time for or we need further follow-up to, there are members of the staff here who can take your name and contact information, or you can send them to the Public Affairs inbox, usadc-media at usa.doj.gov. There are copies of Mr. Martin's remarks available, and they will be posted online. Now let me introduce U.S. Attorney Ed Martin. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Before I begin my remarks, let me recognize the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Arkansas, John Ross, who is in town for some business and stopped by to make sure that we're collaborating closely. He and I have talked early in our tenure and about some ways to work together. So welcome and thank you for everything you do in Arkansas. As a Missourian, we love Arkansas almost as much as Missouri. So glad you're here. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate you coming, especially Washington traffic in the rain can slow you down. You know, when President Donald J. Trump asked me to be his U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia on day one, I immediately accepted because I knew it was what we call a tip of the spear assignment. A tip of the spear assignment. And I knew if I did the job the way President Trump wanted me to, that it would get plenty of attention. And so it has. And I'm proud of what we've done to make D.C. safe again and what we've done in this office. The President has given me a new assignment as the Director of the Weaponization Working Group, a group that has been working already for some 2 months and of which I'm a part of. It's a very impressive group. The docket is broad all across the country and, in fact, across the world, where government was used against the citizens, weaponized against the people. We have a job to do, and we're going to do it. I've also been named the Department of Justice, or the Pardon Attorney for the nation, and I spoke just a few moments ago with Alice Johnson, one of the trusted advisors to President Trump on issues of pardons and others. She's an extraordinary woman, and we're looking forward to working together in that important job. I have loved my job as D.C.'s U.S. Attorney. and I really have come to treasure the colleagues and the work. But I'm really going to love how Judge Jeanine Pirro takes up this mission with her passion and intelligence and her real-world experience as a prosecutor and a judge. She and I have been in contact since she was appointed. She will be getting sworn in very soon, and she's totally energetic and focused. She's really amazing, and I'm pleased to be working with her. My motivation to speak today to you all is twofold. First, I wish to highlight our recent success in fighting illegal immigration. Second, I wish to express my concern that far too many bad guys are being let go, released by our courts, not detained. And specifically, I'm thinking right now, and you can see the images of two bad guys, two fentanyl dealers who were found in possession of illegal machine guns. If you look at the drugs, the pictures of the drugs and the numbers related to the drugs up here, it's enough drugs, obviously fentanyl, to kill, an apartment building. And also these guns that they seized are enough to slaughter, people living in an apartment building. And yet they were released, these two that I'm thinking of. So this is a problem, and we have to address it. So let me comment and commend the recent illegal immigration initiative. In about a month ago, we had Tom Homan visit and Emil Bove from the Department of Justice. Both of them talked about our priorities and specifically about illegal immigration. We take seriously the charge to focus on illegal immigration, and our initiative has been extraordinarily successful, both in collaboration and in the concrete successes that we have done. First, I salute the brave men and women of law enforcement who are out there making D.C. safer by capturing these illegal aliens. It is dangerous work. Work that they have to do in parts of our district that sometimes they are less familiar with, and so they work together in extraordinary ways to get this done. In the last week alone, in this initiative, we had nearly 200, I think 189 by count, have been captured and are facing the consequences. I want to commend by name Jonathan Hornock, the head of our criminal division. Jonathan has been a prosecutor in Texas and in Arizona. He's used his experience as a thoughtful prosecutor to be a leader of our division, but also to work with our national and local law enforcement partners to execute this Operation Restore Justice, is what we call it. So I do want to warn the citizens of the district that the D.C. local leadership, the council and others, has made D.C. a sanctuary city. We're all familiar with that. But the cost of that is something that is paid by the citizens. And I warn you, as we've looked more and more at the sanctuary city provisions, that it is crippling law enforcement in their effort, local law enforcement, to make sure to keep D.C. safer. That needs to change, and it needs to change right now for the citizens of D.C. More than anyone. My second point in gathering, it deals with a concern that we have about what I call the deteriorating role of our justice system, specifically our courts, when it comes to putting bad guys away, getting them off the streets. Our gun initiative, which has been hugely successful, started in March, continued through April, going on in May, taking felons in possession of guns and taking them to federal district court, was required in part because we couldn't have confidence that our superior court judges would detain these bad guys who are in possession of guns in violation of the law. Well, that is ongoing. And these two fentanyl dealers who were found in possession of these illegal machine guns, they were not detained by our courts. This is a heinous, heinous problem. We're operating in a system where the Public Defender Service and others think that it's okay to not only argue vociferously for a lack of detention, but to successfully get that detention from the courts. It's a problem that has to be addressed. Soft on crime decision-making in this case is dangerous, needs to change. The President of the United States was gracious recently to remind people that our office in our initiative to make D.C. safe again has had a great success in these 100 days to lower crime by something close to 30%. But it was not easy. It takes attention, it takes focus, it takes resource, and it takes law enforcement working with prosecutors to make sure that we get the bad actors off the streets. And we need help with this in every aspect of the work. Congress gave the District of Columbia, as many of you know, home rule. But with that comes the responsibility to the city's residents, to the businesses, and to the workers, and the responsibility, frankly, to the rest of the country that our nation's capital will be safe. When the district's leadership exploited home rule to make D.C. a sanctuary city, they acted as if D.C. was just another city, and it's not. When our justice system thinks that justice is a revolving door, when bad actors like the ones with guns and fentanyl get back on the streets, we have a growing problem. As we approach the President of the United States' amazing America 250 celebration, more and more people all over the world and the country are going to join us in Washington, D.C. And there needs to be a robust discussion now about D.C.'s sanctuary city status and its justice system and its judges. And if that means that home rule is on the table to go away, well, then so be it. If that means that the system of appointing judges that gets us judges who continue to do this to our city, if that system has to change, of course, they're appointed by the President, confirmed by the Senate, then so be it. With that, I'm happy to take your questions, and I thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Michael Combs, the Associated Press. Mr. Martin, why do you think your nomination failed?
Well, we went through the process, and I think the Senate has their role in the process. And ultimately, the President decided we didn't want to keep going forward. We had the votes. I can do math. I know the votes. And so Senator Tillis had some objections that he expressed, and that blocked it. But ultimately, I think the President of the United States said we have other battles to do, and so I'm excited about that.
This is my follow-up on that question.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Keith Alexander, Washington Post. Sorry, I'll follow up on that question for him. Is there anything that you would do differently, Mr. Martin, during this past 3 or 4 months? Is there anything you would have done differently?
Well, I think that probably the one thing I would do differently is turn faster towards the question of violent crime. We started this initiative in March and April. I feel like we could have done that sooner. I think I could do it now a little bit. I think the problem of juveniles, the Attorney General of D.C. is in this building. He has sort of purview over juveniles. It's a failure. I'm not saying he's a failure, although I'll get close, but it's a failure. Our juveniles are being exploited by the system, and I think I would have spent more time on that question. Across the country, the juvenile problem is one all cities are facing. So I think it's something that we all have to be worried about for our community. But in general, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about regrets. I think, and looking back, I like to look forward and see what's coming next.
Sir, go ahead, please.
Evan Price with CNN. Mr. Martin, one of the things you're going to be focused on is on this task force on weaponization. Can you provide an update? I know it's been already stood up and it's been ongoing. Can you provide any updates
Sure.
on the work that has been ongoing? We know that I think they provided, the FBI provided names of 5,000 employees who were working on those investigations that were of issue. Are those people under investigation? Is there any progress towards any clarity on what happens to those people? And then I have a follow-up on the crime issue, too.
Well, I would say specifically on those, I don't have an update on those individuals that you described. I would say this. The working group that's been meeting is an all-star team. It's across DOJ. It's people from different sections, civil rights, from different parts of the place. It's an all-star team focused initially on what Attorney General Bondi gave us on the memo. If you look at the memo on the second page, there's a list. Why were Catholics targeted? Why were school board members, why were school board families targeted? What happened with J6? What was Jack Smith, the collaboration between federal employees, prosecutors, and Jack Smith? How did Jack Smith weaponize the grand jury system? There's a set on there, whistleblowers. The Biden administration was particularly hostile to whistleblowers. So we've been looking at the specific charges that Attorney General Bondi gave us, and we've been going through them. We've also been getting more weaponization folks coming forward within the government as well as outside saying, can you look at this, can you look at that? It's a problem that seems to be growing as we faster than we can capture it. What I can say is this. When it comes to the problem of weaponization, the first part of it must be transparency. We have to show our fellow Americans what went on. because when you hide it and then you prosecute, you look like you're targeted. That's what the Biden administration, they didn't tell you what they were doing, they just targeted people, and so they really lied mostly. They mostly were lying about it, and so we have to be more transparent. So a lot of what we're doing is trying to get more of the facts out and finding. I was on the phone earlier today with Chairman Grassley's staff about some of the documents that they want to see put out, and that are currently a lot of them are redacted, and they want to see them out so that people can know what's going on. And we're going to work on that. We're going to do that more and more. So first thing is more transparency, and then of course accountability. And the weaponization group, I think the president's acknowledgement that so much was going on, you needed a captain, and I'm happy to take the helm of that and sort of get that thing really going for the country and for the people. And a follow-up. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously the issue of the revolving door of people who get arrested and then get released. From what we can tell, a lot of those people are not here in this country illegally. They're people from Washington, D.C. or the surrounding area, right? Is that, am I going to understand that you think that the Sanctuary City issue is part of this revolving door problem, or what's the relationship there?
Well, no, I mean, the relationship is that lawlessness is unhelpful to being able to make people safe. If you're going to decide that you don't want to enforce the law of illegals, or you don't want to enforce the law of detaining people, lawlessness gives people, bad guys, an opportunity to do worse things. So I'm not sure. Look, right now we're living in a place where illegals that are detained, the courts will actually send them to the corrections. Listen, I'm listening carefully. Corrections will have to release them, won't give them to ICE. So we have to have ICE agents sitting outside of the jails waiting to get them, endangering themselves, endangering the illegals. That's because of lawlessness, right? If they abided by the law, the federal law, they would be not doing that. So similarly, the detention of people who commit these crimes, the barrier to being detained is to show that there is enough reason to detain them. That's the barrier. We have that in law. What we have currently is judges who think they are the advocates who can decide that. And so what we have to do is, these bad guys don't get detained, then we have to appeal it. We have to go up and appeal it, and the judges will, not every time, but almost every time, say, yeah, we're not going to let this guy out with these guns and this stuff. So I think they're related, and we better have the conversation about it now if we're going to make the city safer. Yes, sir. All right.
Go ahead,
sir.
Mr. Martin, Alan Etter from WTOP here in town. You have had some criticism of city leadership for dealing with crime in the city. Can you describe your interaction with the mayor or the police chief in terms of coming up with resolutions?
Well, the first person I spoke to when I got the job was the chief of police. She's been very responsive. Then I also talked to the mayor, met with the mayor. First meeting I took was with the mayor. So early on, I made the effort to go see them, and we work with them all the time. They were in touch a few minutes ago. What I did was I went out on ride-alongs in every part of the city, and I went and I said to the cops, detectives, sergeants, beat cops, what's going on here where you are? And so what we did was we changed our policies. We now allow the cops to paper in person, to be face-to-face with a prosecutor instead of doing it by email only. It's been a tough process. It requires overtime, and the mayor, the chief has been supportive of that. But we're trying to create a different relationship than just email and cyber prosecuting and cops. And so we've tried to empower the cops and listen to them. The cops will tell you that they were upset that for all these years, if there's a misdemeanor assault on police, it doesn't get charged many times because it's a lot of effort for a misdemeanor. And we said we're going to charge every single time, no matter what. We're going to charge it. We're going to work it. It may take a lot of effort. We may be in front of a jury that nullifies us, but we don't care because cops need to know we have their back. That's because we listen to them. So, and then we listen to the community. The community's up in arms that we have cannabis, marijuana, pop-up shops and shops all over the place. What gathers around those places is not healthy. It's not helpful. And again, the D.C. City Council has laws that appear to contradict federal law. I was down in Georgetown. These aren't, by the way, these aren't Republicans. These aren't conservatives. These family members who are saying, hey, we don't want a store within 1,000 feet of a school, right? We want, and not only one, by the way, it's 4 schools within 1,000 feet of a pot dispensary, a pot shop. So those are the policies you hear when you listen to the people. And I think the mayor generally has been supportive. She got rid of Black Lives Matter Plaza. That's something that I wanted and the president wanted. She changed some of the policies to make it a little bit better for homeless. I think the problem is percolated back up again. That's something she controls. So we have a give and take. She's got to be the mayor, but as much as we can listen to to what's needed for the cops and for the community, we've been able to do.
Ma'am, Neil.
Catherine Balders with ABC. I have, obviously you said you want to talk more about your new role and forward-looking. So on the topic of pardons, I have two questions on it. But one, President Trump, I believe it was last month or the month before, said on his social media account that he believed that the last-minute pardons by President Biden were null and void. As pardon attorney, do you anticipate formally nullifying those pardons with the intention of investigating people who President Trump presumes to be his political enemies?
Well, I will say you concluded the thing there. I certainly think that my job as pardon attorney will be to make clear how the pardons work, and I think that no one, I think, with the standard of sort of reasonableness, thinks that what Joe Biden did at the end of his term was particularly reasonable. Now, I happen to think the pardon power is plenary. If you use the auto pen for a pardon power, I don't think that that's necessarily a problem. But the question is, how did this happen? Just like, by the way, many people said, well, wait, there's 1,500 January 6 pardons. How did that happen? These are big moments, and so they have to be able to withstand scrutiny. And I do think that the Biden pardons need some scrutiny. And they need scrutiny because we want pardons to matter and to be accepted and to be something that's used correctly. So I do think we're going to take a hard look at how they went and what they did. And if they're, I don't know, null and void, I'm not sure how that operates. But I can tell you I've had in my current position or my position as U.S. Attorney, we've had been taking a look at some of the conduct surrounding the pardons and the Biden White House.
Did you have a follow-up, ma'am? Go ahead.
I do, but you answered my pardon follow-up, but just on weaponization.
Yep.
You've been making a lot of public comments, media appearances, saying that you intend to release information on people, even who you don't charge. My reading of the Justice Department manual is that it clearly states prosecutors shouldn't name people, especially people who they don't intend to charge. So how do you square those two things, what you've been saying publicly and what the DOJ manual says?
Well, I'd have to look at what the provision you're referring to see. We want to square ourselves with doing the things correctly. But I will say that the prosecutor's role, and at this moment in our history, is to make clear what the truth is and to get that out. And when Chuck Grassley is asking for more transparency from the government, we need to listen. When whistleblowers are talking about what's going on, and it can't be that the system is stifling the truth from coming out because of some procedure. If it's in the manual, if there's a law, look, I'm the guy that stands here and tells you the January 6th defendants, every one of them wants all their documents back. They want us to release all the video. And we said that's not how it works. We have to be thoughtful and serious about how the system works. If you want all that information, there is a path. If you're suing about it, there is a way. But we have to be serious about it, just like we have to be serious about getting to the truth. There are some really bad actors, some people that did some really bad things to the American people. And if they can be charged, we'll charge them. But if they can't be charged, we will name them. And we will name them. And in a culture that respects shame, they should be people that are shamed. And that's a fact. That's the way things work. And so that's how I believe the job operates.
You're talking about weaponization.
I'm sorry, sir. I was going to call on somebody in the back.
Hey, it's a Scout with CBS. Just picking up on the last point you just made, Mr. Martin.
Yep.
Reviewing the parties. I think you acknowledged your inquiry into Congressman Garcia from California and Senator Schumer from New York. Can you tell me where those stand and whether this review may include members of the January 6th committee for, I guess, criminal misconduct?
Well, let me say on the first thing, Senator Schumer, who someone asked how I didn't get confirmed, Senator Schumer made it a point, I think, on my confirmation to be very active. That's what I'm told by senators and Senate staff, because I talked about his threats. Last week I was assaulted on the steps out here. You probably saw it. That's a direct result of the kind of conduct that Chuck Schumer has done and continues to do and encourage others to on both sides at times. But we don't stand for it. When I wrote a letter to Elon Musk, I said, we'll prosecute people that threaten your people. When I wrote a letter to Chief Judge Boasberg, I said, we'll prosecute people that threaten your people. When I meet with my staff, I say we will prosecute people that threaten our U.S. attorneys or dox them or pizza dox them. There has to be one standard, and the standard has to be more respectful and serious than that. So I can't comment on an ongoing investigation. I can tell you that Chuck Schumer's matter, we looked at it closely. He had apologized on the floor. He had gone out of his way to make clear that he wanted to take back the threats. I think that ultimately we decided that was probably made it difficult to charge him with a crime. But I'm happy to say out loud that what he did was shameful. Back to my point, it was a shameful thing to do. It's something that is destructive to the discourse and very intentional in a way that was very different than on the floor of the Senate. And so that's I think what the problem was there. And again, I won't comment on any other investigations.
Mr. Martin, head over to News 4. In your opening remarks, you questioned D.C.'s right to home rule. I want to ask you a little bit more about that. Do you truly believe D.C. is at a point where they should lose home rule? And have you told the president your feelings on that?
Wait a second. I didn't question their right to home rule. They have a right to home rule. That's the law. Okay, they have a right to it. I'm not questioning their right. That's the system. I'm saying that if they can't get their house in order, they shouldn't be surprised that people are asking questions about it. No, I haven't talked specifically about that. But when the pardon came down of the two police officers who had been railroaded by this office, and he pardoned them. One of the conversations that we did have was, how do we get the judges under control? Everybody in this town knows that the Superior Court judges, we have problems with the judges. And there are currently upwards of 15 vacancies that the president appoints, and he asked about the judges. We know that's a problem. So my point in this is to make sure that people know, again, you have to speak the truth. If you don't want to speak the truth, you can move along and wonder how this keeps happening. The truth is, being a sanctuary city makes it more dangerous for the citizens. The truth is that letting people that have this kind of firepower and these kind of drugs in their possession, letting them get away from being detained is not good for the community here. It makes it more dangerous. And therefore, I think people should be having the conversation. Yes, sir.
The 189 people that were picked up in Operation Restore Justice, if I got that right, how many of them had prior criminal records and how many are solely immigration violators?
I think most of them are administrative. So meaning that they're. I think it's. We'll find out for you. I think it's probably something like 10 or 12 were criminal, and then the rest were administrative.
So like 90+% were administrative.
Yeah, but that's against the law. I mean, it's still an important thing to do. And by the way, we've asked the shelters here. Look, the bad guy, again, you got to speak truth. The bad guys in this country know it's a sanctuary city. So on their way to Miami and New York, they come and stay in the shelters here. And so you ask the shelters, can you give us the rosters? And they say, no, we don't want to give them to you because we're a sanctuary city. That's a problem, right? Metropolitan Police Department, if an officer stops someone, they're not allowed to ask about their status. If they do, they'll be fired. That's a safety. That should be a safety concern for people.
Go ahead, please.
Two questions.
Yes.
One, you mentioned the woman who spit on you. Any update on that case? Are there charges, an investigation, anything?
It's a new experience for me as the victim. I'm not allowed to be involved at all. So I don't. All I know is that soon after when they interviewed me, the FBI and the marshals gave the impression that they knew. I don't think they want to comment. No.
Second, going back to your point about transparency, I think you said there has to be transparency. When you hide it and then prosecute, that creates a problem. The former chief of the criminal division in this office, Denise Chung, says she resigned because she was pressured to investigate something where there wasn't evidence of a crime, Biden climate spending. Was she pressured to do that? Is that one of those instances where we can be transparent and talk about it? If we don't and then prosecute, it's a crime. It's an issue, is what you said.
Well, no. I mean, again, the characterization by a disgruntled employee, I just think everybody takes it with a grain of salt. Let me comment on the specifics. Again, when you see unprecedented conduct you as a prosecutor and as Americans, you should look and say, what's going on here? $6.7 billion transferred to one nonprofit that was created 6 months earlier, 9 months earlier, by 3 nonprofits that came together as a consortium. That's the facts, right? If you can look it up. It's public record. I'm not revealing anything in an investigation. That should make everybody go, what's that? That's the largest transfer of wealth ever from the government to a nonprofit. And it was done with a massive effort of lawyering and a massive application. So when you look closely at it, you say to yourself, is this criminal conduct? And it's not clear. But it does make you pause. That's what you're supposed to do, is pause. Just like if there's the Biden pardons are unprecedented in their extent, right? Back to when Hunter Biden was whatever age, you say, that's uncommon. We ought to take a look at that. That doesn't, as a prosecutor, that doesn't mean you're indicting anyone or subpoenaing anyone or putting them in. When we talk to folks about that, the concerns were real and serious, unprecedented. So the woman that you're talking about had never seen anything like this. So she's saying whatever she says now, but that's not what an unprecedented situation calls for. And we used exactly the process you're supposed to use. You go through the process, you talk to the magistrate judge, you go and say, do we have a situation where we can go further? And that's what we did. So again, I will tell you, whether it's USAID or Climate Action Fund, we're seeing unprecedented conduct in the last 4 years especially, that we've never seen before in a way that's different than we've ever seen. Weaponization as well as money transfer. And I think Americans deserve to have people saying, what's going on here?
This might, go ahead. There's a follow-up, and then I'll take you. You'll be the last.
You said in your letter to Elon Musk that you would be willing to investigate people who act even unethically. Is that a sufficient predicate to open an investigation in this office, unethical behavior?
It's what I mean by that. It's the same thing I meant to Judge Boasberg. When people send a nasty email about his daughter, or when they do something like that, we have a process that we take in the threats. We have a threat portal, and we process it both for data and to understand it. So the term, I'm not sure we'd open up a legal investigation into unethical behavior, but we certainly would be tagging it. Again, unethical behavior is conduct that gives you an indication that someone is in a certain direction. It may not be a crime, but you can at least say, okay, what is this person doing and how are they doing it? And I think that's what I meant there.
Go ahead, sir.
Have you changed any of your views since you joined?
Sorry, what's your name? Where are you from?
Ryan Riley, NBC News. I was curious if you had any change in any of your views since you joined. I know Dan Bongino, you've been working on the pipe bomb investigation, and I had a follow-up.
Have I changed any of my views on the pipe bomb, or just
pipe bomb, or anything related to January 6th or elsewhere as you learn more information as in this position?
So everything, or January 6th?
The pipe bomb, I guess, specifically. Is it what's the update on the pipe bomb investigation?
The FBI, as well as us, took a new look at it, put new people on it, new eyes on it to get to the bottom of it. I would say, anything like an investigation that complex, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of data, and so I think a new set of eyes is always good. Beyond that, I think we have to leave it go because it's active, and I think that we're optimistic.
And in terms of the working group, what work product do you expect to ultimately come out of this? What kind of updates will you be having as we go forward?
Well, you heard me allude to, I think one thing is we're going to be more public facing. When I was asked to switch over here, I was told, this job, you need to be out more and talk about what's going on. So I think we'll be a little bit more outward facing in terms of talking about what's happening. We'll also be asking people to come towards us. At one of our recent meetings of the working group, the question was, how do we set up a portal where people can come and talk about whether government's been weaponized against them? As to work product, we're in the Department of Justice, right? So we've got U.S. attorneys, and we've got the Civil Rights Division in DOJ that can take up cases, can prosecute cases. So I think we have the full set of tools on the table across the country to look at, and I think we'll be doing that. And there's a lot of remedies under the law that can be taken up, but the starting point is to make sure that the public sees what we're doing, understands it, and has confidence.
Is there any concern that you're picking the targets? There's some criticism that you're sort of picking the targets of the investigation before, going forward with the full investigation, or are you finding out that there was no criminal wrongdoing?
100%. I'm happy to find that. It'd be great if we could find out that. But first of all, I take two things. The president won the election, and his executive order on this topic was day one. Pam Bondi was confirmed by the Senate as Attorney General, and her memo was whatever day she was, her day one, and that gave us specifics. So I work in a system, and her specifics are the ones we're operating off of to start, which I mentioned was targeting Catholics, January 6th, Jack Smith, Letitia James, and we've got a whole bunch of people a bunch of us looking at all those. So that's the starting point. I think it's the opposite. If you look back, and I'm now looking closely, the Biden administration was targeting people. They targeted the J6 people to destroy them, to put them in jail. They were going for Trump. And so, what's that?
There was evidence of a crime there specifically.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. Of course, there was evidence of crime but I'm talking about when they used the 1512, they targeted individuals to make sure that they could put them in jail to build a case, and then it was thrown out. So my point is, the weaponization we're looking at, and I'm happy to go back into the first Trump administration, further back in terms of weaponization. It seems like what we're seeing so far is that the weaponization, the real focus is in the Biden administration, but I'm happy to have any targets we can find, and if there were Republicans in government doing those things, we're happy to focus on them. Democrats, independents, it doesn't matter. It matters if government's been used against the citizens.
Specific statutes you're looking at?
Anything that was a violation of law, including civil rights, including of people's civil rights. I think one thing's missed is that the Biden administration did a lot of violating of the citizens' civil rights, and that's something that could be a big opening, too. So that's it. Okay, thanks, everybody. Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thanks. And there are people here. There are people here in the staff who will raise their hand or identify themselves, and they can handle all your follow-ups. Thank you all very much today. Yeah.
That's when you send judges on the pizza orders. I'm guessing, I know it's him. I know it is. I just saw in the news people are sending judges pizza. That may be what the kids are calling it. I don't know. Exactly. Thanks. I do see it.